Hi there, guys. Always nice to enter on an epic soundtrack in the background. Just gonna turn that down so it doesn't overwhelm me while I'm talking to you guys. Today my groceries arrived, so I might actually have to jump out because, well, you'll hear it. It'll be like this, nyeh, nyeh, so I'll have to go sort that out so I have food. Because it's a disability, so I can't. It would be very difficult for me to. I have to order food a week ahead of time, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that. But otherwise, we'll do our stream as normal. It just means I have to do like a very sudden ending, and because life. But what you gonna do? So. Oh, right, and I've got the download page, so if any of you play Terraria and use T-Edit to make your worlds nicer to be in, you can download those, and there's like a little donation link, so if you really enjoyed them, you can just shoot me $1 or $2. But, it's going to be completely free. I might take commissions later, that kind of deal. But yeah, that is now up and running on my website. And on to what we usually do. Let me just set up my page. Probably should have done this before. I keep on forgetting that I've keep changing up the way I do my software, which separates my window sizes. So just give me a second to sort that business out. And yeah, so I've just made a few changes, so there we go, and now we are screen sharing. Oh my god, so pretty. Alright, so last time we were up to looking at the different kinds of professions that, all of which was pretty relatable. And we had moved on to the purpose. So a lot of the times this will be pretty self-explanatory, like sanitization. The purpose of it is to keep things clean. So purpose, like, there's nothing that I can expand on here. And then we've got social status. So how important. Oh my goodness, I was doing fine until I started the stream and started talking. But I'm feeling much better. Oh, hey Skids, lovely to have you here. So just a quick recap. We're looking at, I'm using templates from World Anvil, and we're just talking about professions and how to make them more immersive and just to give them a better yes, you have the town blacksmith, but what level is the blacksmithing at? Are you like Bronze Age or something like that? Or how important are they? So really thinking about all of the details of the world, so that by the time someone gets there, so why is this person necessary? And you're just like, I don't know. So just looking into that. So social status. So that's an interesting way that they've So I'm just going to slot that in. So what is the perception of the profession in the society that it operates? Is it sought for or considered a lower caste occupation? And then comparing that, so it'd be something like cleaning, which is, generally looked at something, looked at as something that people without formal education do, versus something like a doctor, which is a profession that's really highly sought after. So, if you're creating a new thing like Dragon Slayer, that could be a profession. How important is that? I mean, if there are no dragons, then, it's not really sought after, is it? Because there's no point. But, if there are dragons actively. Or it could even be a rogue faction, like if dragons are... I feel like I'm going into the red. I'm just going to turn myself down a little bit. Or, it could be a rogue faction. Maybe dragons are friendly creatures in this world, and, it's like only considered by bandits who want to steal their hoard or something. So demand. So that's another thing you kind of need to take into account in terms of the importance of this this profession. So is it a luxury or a staple? So again, it could be like silversmithing, which is more sought after. It could be a farmer who is, like, you need food, you need bread, that kind of deal. So yeah, demographics. So this is kind of where it gets kind of a little bit complicated, because you could either have, kind of like Australia, where there's such a range in cultures that you don't really have a defined role for ethnicity. Or it could be more complicated, where it's kind of like a slave state, where a certain people's is forced to work, or or even in a fantasy setting where like fire beings are more adept smithies because they can handle higher temperatures and make better blades or something like that. So yeah, like that's another. Okay. So the other way that they phrased it, besides my fantasy fire being smithy recommendation, is what percentage of the population overall is employed or otherwise engaged in this profession. So yeah, I guess that's again in terms of supply and demand. Sorry. My throat is not having fun. But yeah, like that's another thing that like you can take into account when creating professions. The importance of it and how much influence it has over the culture. History is always fun. I remember I had a lot of fun with this idea while working with magic, because, how do people discover spells? Do they just throw stuff together? And it kind of made me realize why magical universities are so important. That is due to the fact that, they have to take a really strong approach towards... God, this is so loud. I'm so sorry. There we go. So they have to, experiment with all sorts of, new alchemy ingredients or new ideas to expand their profession. And it's so close to technology in the fact that you have to take an innovative approach, because it's not like you wake up and suddenly know all the spells. So that's... Oh, Lord. There we go. Sorry, I had it selected for volume. And then operations. So this is probably where you can have the most fun. So, operations. Tools. So, yeah, let's have a look at that. So, which is the standard equipment and tools required by someone in this profession? This could be anything from the contents of their standard toolbox to high-end computer wearables. So, we're going all the way from medieval pre-magic to sci-fi post-galactic travel, which I find really interesting. Because what could be a standard toolbox? I suppose our understanding of it is, what does the average tradie have in his toolbox? But yeah, it's someone with an alchemy pouch, they have a few healing potions, they have a few, poisons. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff, taking into account what they usually carry so that you know what they're inclined to use in whatever situation can really help to, you're not just, it makes world building easier. Sorry, I am just not doing well today. I'm starting to recover from being sick, but, it's still in my throat and my back is still sore. I'm trying my best for you guys here. Alright, so materials, I was just talking about. So it's going more of a construction kind of way this time. Are there any supplies required for the day-to-day operations of a professional on the field? Iron ingots, ink, wooden planks. So it's also going in a education direction, or I suppose like a bookkeeper, transcriber, a researcher in the field kind of deal. So workplace, and we've got, ooh. So how does the workplace of this profession look like? Any special furniture or fittings, smells and sounds. So this is another case of creating the atmosphere. Is this, you know, like the stereotypical tinkerer with papers and bits and bobs all over the place with really weird machines, just kind of, and, you know, explosion marks all over the walls? Or is this kind of, you know, like a library where everything's really neat and tidy? There's, you know, paperweights on the desk and memorabilia on the walls. Like, what kind of environment are you creating for the player to kind of interpret, I guess? Provided services. So yeah, that was not meant to be copy pasted. So this is an interesting one, because that's also very profession specific. Like, maybe it's a smith, but they are a very specialized smith where they only work with shadow metal or something. So yeah, like that's something else you can consider as, you know, like they know how to work with shadow matter, but they can't make, as a result, because shadow matter might be so heavy, they just don't have the experience of making light armor and weaponry. So this is, I guess, more character specific rather than in a profession. But, you know, like, you have your subcategories where you're not just working with metal, but you're choosing to specialize because there is a higher demand for it. So yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, so that's more to do with, or, you know, maybe you have a post service where, you know, you deliver mail and parcels, and that is, you know, that's how you communicate with the world in terms of the game. So yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. We've got some hazards. So yeah, I don't think there's actually a profession in the world without any hazards in it. So I mean, I suppose writing would be paper cut, but, you know, poor posture and like there are some peaceful professions, I guess. Yeah, so smithy, cuts, burns. Yeah, so what kind of dangers can that profession kind of understandably undertake? What's the shit part of the shit sandwich, so to say? Oh, legality. So again, like taking our Dragon Slayer example, in a world where dragons are not only accepted but an active part of the culture, is this profession legal in all parts of the world? Which are the laws in place regarding it? So that's something I didn't even consider. I'm so sorry. I'm recovering. I'm doing better. I'm fine. Alright, so relations. So this is more to do with kind of, you know, like in taking into account the construction, for example. So construction, you would know about the lumberers, you would know the smithies, you would know the quarry workers. Like, you know a bunch of people in order to get your supplies. So this is just yeah, so this is how do what are kind of like the connections that this profession has. And then, you know, like construction workers they probably would know science before they go to an alchemist, because they're not gonna, I don't know, like it's a little bit more So it's more like creating the web in your world and how these people, how these professions kind of interact with each other. So again, it's kind of taking what you already know and bringing it to a deeper level, so to say. Profession holders. So yeah, if you take, for example, wizards in Skyrim, so they would be all part of the mage profession, and then some of them would be associated with the College of Winterhold, and some of them are standalone because they need one in every village, because magic is so is such a part of that world. Related organizations, associated. And related vehicles. So I was not expecting that. So that's really interesting, but that does make sense. Like, for example, if it was a traveling merchant or a peddler, they would have a big cart to roll their wares. Or, like maybe this is a steampunk era kind of deal where you do have these steam powered flying machines. So that's another thing that we need to take into account when we're creating professions, whether there's something specific, or maybe a tank, because a tank is a vehicle. So in a military sense, like how would that fit in with this profession? So yeah, that was interesting, and I wasn't expecting to come across that. But that's it for professions. So yeah, that was fantastic. Oh wait, related vehicles. I haven't made any vehicles. I've got the template for them. So what are we up to now? Professions, organizations. All right, so these are kind of groups of people that would. Oops, sorry, it's taking a while to load. So this is, like dedicated groups that are kind of, like you've got the Mages Guild, or you've got the group of assassins, the Dark Brotherhood, or you have the Thieves Guild. So these are all organizations that hold responsibility for the they're a group of people that like to do this stuff together. So yeah, just creating that of organizations. And we're gonna do our usual thing. So I'm kind of expecting this to be very similar to. Yeah, so this is quite. This is very similar to the religion, which is technically an organization. So what I'm going to do is grab most of the paste from that and then move it across. Yep, so it's so funny that they put religion separate to organization when you consider that a religion is kind of it's an organized peoples. So we've got we don't have the alternative names. That's all right. We can just cut out whatever we don't need. I'm just gonna select all, come across here. Look at that, all the time saving. All right, so we have according to this. Hey, world builder, I'm specifically looking for creative writers, but there is some overlap. It most definitely does apply here. Oh wait. You're looking for so when you are creating any kind of world, so I'm a game developer primarily, but taking these same ideas and exploring them to a larger depth will definitely help any kind of writing that you do. because I mean, you don't just rush in and make a game because you feel like it and then figure it out as you go. So yeah, this does apply here. So in the event, like, just looking at a model, the motto, slogan, or axiom, two words to a sentence that defines this organization. So in the event that you do some creative writing that involves maybe like a guild. Yes, so this is a World 4 game, but same as D&D, it does have roots in creative writing, in that you can still use these templates, which I will create, and use them to create more depth and develop your own understanding of your world. Just like there is, if you use Harry Potter as an example, the Harry Potter universe has such a deep and diverse world because they've taken world building to this level of, you know, thinking about each little guild and who are the members and what is their participation, what is their history, who are they related to. So this is still very relevant to creative writing. Oh yeah, no, this is discussions on how to develop your creative writing from an immersion point of view. I'm using it for games, but I am not creating a written piece. But I'm using these templates to create a better written game, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm not going to be writing something on this channel. I'm going to be using the topics to write better. Anyway, so getting back to this, so in terms of comparison, alternative names for an organization, I feel like that still applies even if it's not taken out. Flag or crest, an idiom. Oh, they do have alternative names, it's just further down in that template list. So a demonym. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you very much, Mez09. Hope you find what you're looking for. But yeah, these are available on World Anvil. So yeah, if you just look up their site and, you know, look at their wiki, maybe they'll suit your purposes more than me. But yeah, hope you find what you're looking for. Cool. Organization structure. This is practically identical, which I find hilarious personally. History, founding date, dissolution, disbandment, leader. Yep, related ethnicities. Fantastic. So this is this is identical to the template we were working with. There we go. Just gonna roll down through here. Geopolitical. Capital, head of state, head of government, government systems. Yeah, aren't we glad? Like, I'm so happy that I did this earlier so I can just copy paste. Judicial body. Yep. Sorry guys, I'm just scrolling through and making sure that this is as it should be for you guys, so when I release these. Oh wait, hold on. Official state, territory, military, official state religion. Yep. So yeah, it's again, I find it very fascinating that these are so similar. There we go, and just gonna move up. Religious. Yeah, this is identical. I mean, I'd love to hear anyone's opinion on whether a religion should be considered a organization and why they've kept it separate, because yeah, this really confuses me. Yeah, cool. Alright, so that one was really quick. Natural law. Huh. Maybe in your world gravity works differently, or if there's a magic in the air, or light travels slower. Any of the normal supernatural laws. So yeah, that's what I'm really curious about. Alright, so that was that was really easy. Unexpectedly easy. Ah, cool. They're doing a little, well, the Anvil is doing a live Q&A, so if anyone's curious about this kind of thing, sorry, I'm still really unwell. Alright, so laws of nature. So that's, again, this is kind of to just reiterate, this is like discussing whether or not you have magic in your world, and if there's something special about maybe the way that the water works or something like that. So vignette. So yeah, so manifestation or visualization. Describe the way. So I'm just going to read this out to you guys. So describe the way the natural supernatural law manifests itself. For example, the color that fire takes when a specific element burns, or the effect of magnetism and gravity to the auras of your skies. So, kind of bridging what we already know within our own chemistry. I think it's when you add copper to fire, it starts to burn green. And yeah, magnetism and gravity. So the auroras, borealis and australis, are dependent on magnetism because they're the north and south poles. So that's what creates the auroras. So yeah, so it's taken real world examples and kind of, maybe there's like a festival where they use maybe there's like a festival where, the whole world is covered in auroras, and, maybe that's like a law of nature that's unusual to that planet or that world. Localization. There we go, and just like I was talking about, like specifically this is kind of worldwide for that time. So in some cases, especially when it comes to metaphysical magical laws, the effects of the laws themselves might be localized. Describe here which locations and why this law applies. An example would be dead magic area or a ley line of magical energies. So this happens a lot. So standing stones in Skyrim would be an example of that, where, this is a place where you can acquire a special power, and then one of these, I think it's like 13 stones, will give you that power. So that's an example of a localized effect. Or, cradles of magic are a thing, are a magical theory in common fantasy where there are different cradles of magic. I think it was like there's Ireland, Australia, somewhere in America. So they're just places where magic is strongest, and so that's where you get all these magical urban fantasy, where you get all these underground magic movements that are localized around these magical areas. So type. Okay, so we now have adding back to our type section. So laws of nature. I think it's so short that I might keep it. It's so short and specific. I might actually keep it to the actual article specific. So types, and then I'll just add this here. So we have natural laws. Whoop. Metaphysical, so transcending the physical. So, for example, well, you guys will see what I mean. So we've got arcane, which is to do with magic, astral, which is to do with different planes of existence, demonic, so like poltergeist and stuff, divine, so you've got like little angel messages, elemental, psychic, and supernatural. So I'm really interested in what supernatural. Well, I suppose supernatural would mean something that is not natural. So you've got so when you're considering like werewolves, they're something that is supernatural. Then they're an extension of something, or you know, chimeras. So a lot of cryptids and magical creatures would be a case of supernatural, because they're taking what we already know to be naturally accepted, and yeah, cool, and yeah, kind of extending that beyond what makes it unnatural. So cool. Yeah, so that was another that's it. That was another quick one. Myths and legends, so I assume this is kind of like magical tales. Okay, so this is so we're gonna learn a new word. We're gonna learn a few new words here, just scrolling through. So just going to do that. Gonna start a new note here. So do our usual vignette and all that. So generic. Quick summary of what's going on there. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I have just missed their little their little a little hint that's here that I think is just really good to look at. What is the outline of the myth, legend, or prophecy? What are the components and key concepts? So there are myths and legends, but I just didn't consider prophecy like that foresight and storytelling kind of way. So yeah, that's just something to consider, because maybe your story or game is based around this prophecy, and that's what's the that's the driving component. So next we have the historical basis. So that's another interesting one, especially so the historical basis, and I'll just expand on the idea that they share here. Is the myth rooted in an actual historical event? Is there any, no matter how convoluted, evidence of its existence? So, for example, just taking into account the Dawn Guard questline, where the spoilers, by the way, for Dawn Guard, where we find out that the prophecy was actually, it wasn't a divine, a divine god thing. It was just some angry vampire who was, felt abandoned by his god, so he created that prophecy. It wasn't, so that was that convoluted thing where he was the one who brought it all together after years of planning. It wasn't some kind of supernatural deity who, that was its horrible historical basis. So spread and apocrypha, I think it's pronounced the apocrypha, for apocryphae. Feel free to I don't know. So Apocryphae also makes me think of Skyrim. That's what the Hermaeus calls his little like mini world of all of his knowledge and books. Anyway, so how far and wide the myths spread? Is it common knowledge or hidden away legend, only to be known by those cursed or blessed ones? So that's another. Like, is it a whisper, or is it, you know? Yeah. So that's. Oh, I'm not feeling very well. Yeah, I'll be right back. Just a moment. Alright, hi guys, sorry about that. I'm feeling a little bit better. I think I was just having some weird feelings in my guts. But yeah, I've got some water now, so I should be coughing a lot less. So yeah, just talking about the different legends, like for example, the example that I was using earlier was the Dawn Guard and the Prophecy. Where, you know, it's only really known by vampires and vampire hunters. So that's a example of the myth spread, or, you know, who knows about it, versus, you know, everyone knowing that vampires exist. Variations. So this is probably most commonly seen in Greek culture or Lovecraftian mythos, where there's kind of, because it's like kind of like everyone's allowed to add to it, there's kind of some overlap, and there's like different ideas of what a certain god looks or acts like, or how a certain story is told and how it changes over time. So yeah, here's the little snippet that they add. So myths, even when written, tend to mutate as they pass from mouth to mouth or through passing of the years. How was your original myth transformed, and by whom? So that's another idea of kind of like a Chinese whispers of like a Chinese whispers of how this story is told. So cultural reception. and just going into there we go. So how's the legend perceived in different cultures and how important is it to their story and identity? So yeah, like like I can't stop using Skyrim as an example today. So most people know who the Dragonborn is, but you know, like Solheim doesn't really care. Besides the presence of what's his name, who steals the dragon souls. So yeah, like how prevalent is it? Oh goodness. All right, so looking into in literature, so so how did the myth affect the written word in your worlds? Are there any books, heroics, poems about it? So I guess this is another interpretation, like for example Beowulf, where this is an event witnessed by this person and then his retelling it, and then from then on this heroic tale has gone on to be considered an epic, and then people have made other books about it, fan fiction, movies. So yeah, so how did that continue to expand, and who does it inspire? Is it is it a identifying piece of literature for that culture? So I'm kind of surprised this next section is so late in the article template. So date of recording. When was the first recording of the event? So that would insinuate that there is later changes and later additions. And then in art, so how's the art of your world inspired by it? Are there paintings, tapestries, songs, or statues related to the legend? So it's an example of, you know, a statue usually denotes someone of importance in a particular city or town. So having the presence of a statue, that's a little bit loud. Yeah, so having the presence of a statue in a town, you kind of automatically know, hey, this person is important. They have somehow changed this town for the better. And yeah, it kind of gives you an idea of kind of the history. Or, you know, if there's a painting of someone in this old Victorian house, you kind of know that, you know, maybe they were like a baron or someone very important because paintings were so expensive. So paintings, songs, statues related to the legend. So yeah, and this might even be for like a horror setting where, you know, this person, you know, has they're immortalized in this painting to remember not to do that again. So there's many different ways of looking at it. And then yeah, so I'm just going to move a few things around here. So we have the date of setting. When did the legend supposedly take place? So, like, this might be in the event that this happened, like, before time was recorded. So I'm just going to move these things around. Because, you know, this is just what makes more sense to me. Feel free to move them around. There we go. So data recording, historical basis. So So yeah, just looking at how different. Well, that's a little bit jarring, isn't it? There we go. So yeah, so looking at the way the different legends are created and how they influence local culture, well, not even local, just cultures in general, kind of gives you some insight onto kind of the pervasive the right word. Just give me a second. Okay, so yeah, no, it's unwelcome. So, well, I mean, maybe it's pervasive. Maybe people like it's a legend that no one talks about, like Harry Potter again with what's it called? The one who must not be named, or one, yeah. So, yeah, there's that. I'm pretty sure there was a second section here. Ah, there we go. So that's. Here's a bunch of relations. So that's just gonna be how we're gonna connect these two to this form. Ethnicities. There we go. Species. So, for example, for Avatar in the Na'vi, so whoever rides this Volanoptrix, or that big orange thing, that is a legend that is related to a specific species. Or locations. So maybe it's like an ancient spring of youth. Organizations, so within Skyrim, spoilers, in the Thieves Guild you have the Twilight Sepulchres and the Nightingales, so that's a related organization. Related items, so maybe, you know, the Holy Grail from Knights of the Round Table, and related vehicles. So this might be a time machine. This might be a time machine, or I don't know, like a dragon, I guess. So vehicles, so that's that one done. I think we are more than halfway through, which I am so excited about. Oh, wait, no, about a little over halfway through. So the next part is military stuff, which I have never done before. Yeah. Oh, look, so just to explore an idea of what this military unit specialization is Attack on Titan, where their military units were based around battling a large humanoid opponent, which they needed to be able to reach despite having a smaller stature. So they had specialized equipment, they had specialized training for that specialized equipment, they had different ranks, very low veterancy, and they had specializations and special forces based around these specialized big people whose name I forget. Yeah, but I'm feeling a little bit too tired to go into this right now. But yeah, I definitely will have a look into this tomorrow, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot about this, because yeah, I just have no idea. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Yeah, just to remind you all, so I will be uploading these for download in a zip file for you guys to enjoy. And yeah, hopefully I'll get through this by the next week, and then I'm now starting to get more excited about getting back into fixing up Pixelicious and making my menu nicer so you guys can enjoy the game better. And yeah, yeah, just check out what's going on. Alright, much love.